Infinity War kind of sucked because everybody just like died at the end basically, and I was not with that.
I disagree.
I am addicted to social media.
I'm on a spectrum where if I am out and about and I'm not being able to be on my phone, I have to go through my whole feed, see every post, go on Snapchat, like go see every story until I do like something productive.
I barely have social media. I'm barely on it. I don't really do anything on social media.
It's easy for me to talk about faith.
Well, like I grew up in church, like it's always been a constant thing in my life. So it's like, it's always been something that I could rely on. Like my faith has always been pretty stable. I don't think I can remember a time where it wasn't something that was like in my life.
I feel a need to impress people regularly.
A lot of times I feel like my opinions don't matter, so I'm always looking for approval from other people.
School shootings make me scared to go to school.
The resource officers at the school have been trained enough to act the right way in those situations, so I just don't really think about it.
I think when I was younger, and as I got older, it got worse and worse, making my anxiety just rise.
Like, I don't feel like it could happen to me, but like, obviously when I'm like thinking about it, I like feel anxious about it because like it could happen to me.
I tend to follow others more than lead.
I like to think of myself as a leader in my own eyes, and I've also been told by family and friends that I'm a good leader, so I like to think of myself as leading others.
For me, I'm a quieter and shyer person. I don't like to be out there, and sometimes when there's someone that everyone follows, I want to fit in with the crowd, so I go follow them.
Awesome. Well, this morning, guys, we wanted to give you guys a chance to hear stories from our teenagers in their own words. And so to kind of kick off our message this morning, I invited some of my friends that we get to hang out with at One Youth and here on Sunday mornings. And so we're just going to have a conversation. And so real quick, guys, just to kind of get us kicked off, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody, tell us your age, where you go to school, and something interesting about yourself.
I'm Zach. I'm 15. I go to Beale City, and something interesting about me is my body can't break down protein.
Oh, so you know what else I think is probably interesting about you that you didn't mention before is how long have you been 15? Happy birthday. Oh, so you've been 15 for like 12 hours. Come on, happy birthday. Happy birthday to Zach.
Thank you.
We should sing.
We should sing. We should sing. All right, ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Zach. Happy birthday to you. Cha-cha-cha. Okay. I apologize for that.
No, it's fine. That was great. I'm Lily. I'm 13. I go to Mount Pleasant Middle School. And one interesting fact about me is that I'm in a band with 4 of my other friends called The Fearless 4 featuring L Money.
There you go.
I'm L Money.
Nice.
I'm Faith. I am 16 years old. I go to Mount Pleasant High School, and I'm actually a race car driver.
Yeah, race car driver. Who'd have thought? See, that's kind of intimidating for the rest of us. But anyway.
Hi, I'm Ben. I go to Sacred Heart Academy, and I'm 17 years old. I like sports.
Awesome. Yeah, you do. Alrighty. Well, hey guys, we want to understand your world a little bit better, and so to help us do that, you guys are right in the middle of your teenage years. Right in the middle of your teenage experience. But teenage years are often those years that kind of get stereotyped. There's a lot of things that people just assume about teens. So in your experience, what's one way that you guys get stereotyped as teenagers?
Like we're always on social media, and like that's the only thing we do, and we don't do anything else. Or you read articles on social media that they affect us or something. Terrible.
That seemed kind of personal there.
Yeah.
Like we get stereotyped that we always hate our parents. I personally love my mom and dad. We fight. I mean, but like we're human. We all fight with each other.
That's fair.
I fight with them a lot. I pointed to Faith too.
Well, that's true. So we spread it out a little bit. Spread the love and the fighting. Anyway.
Ben's an angel. One thing that I've noticed a lot, especially recently, is people tend to like think that we don't have our priorities straight, or we don't take responsibility for the things we do.
People tend to think that like we're joking all the time. Like people, like I'll say something that's serious, and I'm like, like that, and I'll be like, no, that was serious. I actually was saying something.
Oh goodness, I love it. Yeah. I'm just gonna sit on that little nugget right there. Oh, that's perfect. Anyway, so along with that, guys, kind of give us a picture of. So a lot of these stereotypes aren't really true. They aren't accurate to what you really see in the world. So just give us a couple minutes. What do you value? How do you guys see right and wrong? How do you determine what's just good in the world?
Like value other people's needs. Like we don't know everything about them, so like treat them good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's excellent.
I value that like we can feel emotions. Like I might like feel sorry for someone, and if I didn't have any emotions, I would just be like a robot, and that would kind of suck.
That's fair.
Kind of like what Zach said. A lot of what comes from like my values and stuff is also the values of other people. So when I'm thinking about like what I value like my friends. I really value my friends and my family and the things that I do, and so their values also make a big impact on what I value.
I guess like I base my values on that everyone has like that every life has meaning, and that everyone has a different story, and that everyone's like that because everyone like is born kind of like they have their own lives, that they have their own meanings, that I kind of base my values and ideas on, that I treat them with respect and that they have meaning.
Yeah. That's awesome. Along with that, so how does faith, what you guys know of God, well, not just faith the person, it's nice, it's convenient because faith is up here with us, puns, but how does what you know of God, how does that intersect your life here and what you've experienced in middle school and high school?
To always treat others how you want to be treated, the golden rule.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Probably the reason it's golden.
Yeah.
What was the question, John? Oh wait, I got it now. I figured it out. Okay.
Faith in your life.
Faith really helps my life because she's a great part of my life. No, God helps my life because, it's kind of like, what would Jesus do if I'm in like a dilemma where like I could either like yell at someone or I could calmly handle the situation. What would Jesus do? And then I normally pick, calmly handle the situation. Normally.
He really points the way in like making decisions and stuff because, I have a lot going on. We all have a lot going on with high school and stuff. And having him there to kind of guide us through and help us like when we're struggling is a huge part of it.
That's huge.
I mean, where my faith helps me is that it helps me to base my decisions and things that I do on like the scriptures and like what Jesus has said, like love everyone how I've loved you. Like that kind of speaks to me that I need to treat everyone with respect and love.
That is huge. Well, guys, on behalf of us, thank you so much for sharing your world with us this morning. Let's give these guys a hand. Guys, I hope you know from the bottom of my heart and as I was speaking for the church, like you guys bring such a unique perspective to this community. Our church is so much better because of you four. And so thank you again so much for here. Now let's give these guys one more hand. Let's give these guys one more hand. You guys go ahead and have a seat. Have a seat. Actually, we can just leave those there. We'll clean them up after. But perfect. Take your mics so we don't ruin our sound, guys. Thank you. High fives all around. Oh, wow, that light is bright. You would not assume that, but hey. Well, hey, I wanted to take just a couple minutes to connect some dots for us this morning, because this morning is all about, we wanted to put in front of you guys the stories of our teens in their own words. And so our teens are phenomenal. The four that are up here, we didn't pick those four just like because they're the best of the best. We picked those four just because like they're a great example of just all of our teens. Like all of our teens have stories just like the four you just heard. All of our students, not only that are here with us on Sunday nights, but that are here with us Sunday morning, all of them have things that they come from. And so this morning is all about letting you see and experience those stories in their own words. Because one of the things you'll find is that every story matters. Every story matters. And so it's not just the crazy, the miraculous, the over the top stories. We see that God is at work in everyone's story, even in moments we don't understand, where things seem hard. Right? We have students that from every background that you can imagine. We have students that, like I said, love sports, that excel in that area. We have students that love and excel in arts and in band. We have students that are honestly some of the funniest people that I have ever met. We have students that are so smart that it makes the rest of us adults feel a little insecure. It happens. It's okay. We've come to peace with it. Right? We have students that are just so caring in the way that they interact not only with each other but with their siblings. And it's just remarkable to watch. And we have students that have to carry more weight than I ever thought a teenager would be able to carry, that have to carry such pain and such reality that it just breaks your heart. And so at One Youth, we've tried to create a space where all of those stories, we can just come together and we can share them, because every story matters. And what you'll find as you lean into that idea that every story matters, you not only that, but every story deserves to be heard. And that's where you come in. Because the reality is, I can't listen to every story. I can't give it the care and the attention that it deserves. I can't do that for everyone, but I can do that for someone. And you can't carry the load of everyone you encounter, everyone in your life, but you can listen to someone. You can lean into someone's story, and you can love them in that way. You can receive their story in that way. So I want to take a few minutes to unpack a story that kind of illustrates this principle, illustrates this power. It's a story many of us are familiar with, a story of a guy named Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus, and many of us in this room know this guy because we grew up in Sunday school and in camps and like VBS and stuff, singing songs about him. So if you know it, shout it out. Zacchaeus was a tax collector. He wasn't, thank you. This wee little man stuff, that's just mean. As somebody who's also vertically challenged, I take severe offense. He was a tax collector, people. But when we say tax collector, right, there's an image that comes into our heads. An image of like IRS guy or an accountant guy, somebody that just deals with numbers and like tax rates and government and stuff and whatnot. But when we read that in Scripture, so this is actually in the book of Luke, story of Jesus' life. When we read that Zacchaeus was a tax collector, what we don't often see is honestly the vitriol and kind of the disgust that this term would have evoked in the people around Zacchaeus. Because essentially to be a tax collector means you were a government-sponsored thief. That you stole money from the people around you, and the government, the Roman people, the Roman government at the time said, that's okay, yeah, take whatever you want. So Zacchaeus was not winning any popularity contests, right? He was a guy that would legitimately cheat his own community. See, when the crowd saw this man, when the people, his community saw him, they didn't see Zacchaeus. They just saw a man driven by his own greed. They saw a man that had no problem using people to whatever end that he wanted. They saw a man that was just ruining their community. But back to the story, right? We have Zacchaeus. So Zacchaeus is in a town called Jericho. And Jericho, as the story goes, it turns out Jesus was passing through the town. And at this point in the story, Jesus has sort of a celebrity type following around the area. And so when word got out that Jesus was coming through town, everybody who is anybody showed up at the entrance of town. There was a giant crowd, so much so that people were pushing and clamoring over each other just to try and see if this Jesus guy really lived up to his hype. And who was among this crowd? Zacchaeus. Now just imagine you got to wonder what's going through Zacchaeus' head in this moment, right? Because he's in the middle of a crowd of people that he legitimately cheated. He's in the middle of a crowd that want nothing to do with him. Can you imagine the looks that he was getting from the people around him? Can you imagine what people were saying about him as he passed? Like, what are you doing here? Like, this isn't for you. Go home. Leave. I just have to wonder how many times Zacchaeus thought about just turning around. Like, I wonder how many times he just thought about leaving all this behind. I wonder how much he just tried to act tough, like those words didn't really affect him or impact him. And as the story goes, Luke tells us that in the middle of this crowd, Zacchaeus does something that's kind of strange, especially for an adult. Zacchaeus climbs a tree. Right? Have you ever been so invested in a situation or been so frazzled or so fried that you just do something irrational? Right? Like you're going to the grocery store and you're fighting with the family and just like you miss the turn. It's like, well, I guess we're going to Walmart in Alma. Right? And you just stick with it. Right? This is what Zacchaeus is going through. He's like, well, I guess his brain's just like, screw it. I'm going to climb a tree. But it's in the middle of this moment that Jesus speaks, and what Jesus says to Zacchaeus changes the trajectory of his life. Check this out. This is Luke 19, verse 5. It says, when Jesus came to the point, when he came by, he looked up at Zacchaeus and he called him by name. He called him by name. Zacchaeus, he said, quick, come down. I must be a guest in your home today. He called him by name. He made it personal. See, when the crowd saw this man, they saw a man that was driven by his own greed. Jesus saw a man of intrinsic worth. Where the crowd saw a man willing to use anyone to get ahead, Jesus saw someone created in the image of God. When the crowd saw a man that was just running the community into the ground, Jesus saw a man of extraordinary potential. See, what Jesus did for Zacchaeus was personal. I love the way the author Reggie Joiner says it. He says, maybe Jesus chose Zacchaeus in this moment in front of everybody to prove what can happen when anyone is treated like they're someone that God loves. See, Jesus looked right at him and he spoke his name. He said, Zacchaeus, Zacchaeus, come and let me have dinner with you. A couple weeks ago, I was up here talking about what a life of faith looks like in the scriptures. And one of the main ways that it's described in the New Testament is this, that Jesus said, this is what faith looks like. I'm standing at the front door and I'm knocking. And whoever opens the door, I'm going to come in and we're going to share a meal and we're going to just be together. See, Jesus always makes it personal. He always makes it personal. In fact, check this out. See, this was so personal that Jesus, in this moment, He is passing through Jericho to go to Jerusalem. He is passing through this moment to literally go to the cross. He's passing through this moment to literally save the whole world. And as he is going to save the whole world, he stops to save one person. And he does it to remind all of us that this mission, this community that we're a part of, it's personal. And so if you're looking for a big idea from this morning, if you're looking to connect what you're hearing from these students, it's this. It's personal. Right? How do we best set up students for their future? It's personal. We make a personal investment. How do we change the way a generation sees God? It's personal. The story of Jesus' encounter with Zacchaeus is such a powerful example of what it means to make a personal investment in someone's life. See, the church needs more leaders to learn how to be personal, more men and women to learn how to be personal, because too many students, too many kids feel invisible and ignored. That's why we're seeing an epidemic rise in things like bullying, emotional abuse, depression, self-harm, suicide among kids and teenagers. But you and I, this morning, we're being invited to become men and women, leaders, who take this personally and make an investment. So the challenge this morning is this: stop and look around. Because there is someone in your life that needs you to see them. There is someone in your life that needs you to listen to their story and to hear them. See, the crazy thing is what Jesus did for Zacchaeus didn't stop with Zacchaeus. And you'll find this out. When you stop for one person, it always affects more than just one. Because what Jesus did for Zacchaeus resulted in an entire wave. You can read the story in Luke 19. What Jesus did for Zacchaeus resulted in an entire wave of generosity that rippled throughout the community of Jericho. Because Jesus made it personal. He identified Zacchaeus in a way that communicated value. He addressed what really mattered to Zacchaeus. Jesus took the time to enter into Zacchaeus' everyday world, and Jesus responded to Zacchaeus in a way that removed his shame. And most of all, Jesus believed in Zacchaeus' potential to do good. So the question is, what can you do? Not for everyone, but for someone. What could you do in the life of a kid or a teenager? Because here's the truth of this morning, that you might just be someone's best chance to be seen. You might just be the best chance someone has to really be seen and validated, to have their story heard and received with the value it deserves. So here in a minute, I just want to leave you with this thought. And we got another cool moment for you guys this morning as we wrap up our One Youth Takeover. But we talk about, if you've been here we talk a lot about showing up here at Thrive. It's part of our DNA as a church. It's what we say is the first step. How do I get connected to Thrive? How do I start to follow Jesus? Well, you show up. You show up here, you show up on a team, you show up in a small group. But let me challenge us with this thought this morning. Our legacy as a church will not be determined by how many people show up here. Will not be determined by how many people show up in a small group or show up on a team, but it will be determined by how many of us are willing to show up in the life of someone else. And so here in a minute, guys, we're gonna check out one more video, because we're gonna show you guys really an incredible way that we want as a church to show up for our students. As this video is playing, if you are a student and you are going to big stuff, go ahead and come up on stage and join us. But yeah, while those everybody's moving, go ahead and check out this video.
When I come to my senses, I remember there is nothing that I could ever do to deserve you. But now that's the beauty of grace.
John, tell us when they're leaving, when you're leaving, and all that good kind of
So we are heading out July 14th, Sunday night. We're going to meet together at 5, have a quick parents huddle and meeting with everybody, go over rules for the trip, and we'll grill out and have some fun there. And then we're going to leave for Florida at 7 on Sunday night. We'll be down in Florida Monday through Thursday, actually Monday through Friday morning. And then we'll come back Friday. We'll be back at the hub Saturday morning, the 20th, between 6 and 8 a.m.
I just think we need to go to big stuff in February. Like, why does this? I mean, come on.
That would be ideal for us.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's ideal for.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm here with a thriver. Bobby Rates is his name. And Bobby, how many big stuffs have you been on so far?
3.
3 big stuffs. This would be big stuff number 4. And have they all been like life-changing experiences?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I asked him if I could ask one question. I didn't ask 2.
That's fair.
Thanks, Bob, for doing that for me. Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. If you guys have seen any of the, like, it's an incredible week that we get to spend. So myself and we're taking 8 other leaders down, and we've got 32 kids going. So I know a couple of them. This is about half our crew. We had some kids that had to leave because they got jobs and stuff, and got some kids that just couldn't get here this morning. But we've got an entire crew on it. It's just going to be a week on the beach that we get to spend hanging out and building into, and like we just like sharing stories, investing in these students, and it's just incredible. So there's a couple ways that you guys can help this crew as we get ready. On the way out, you're going to receive a like this little half sheet pamphlet. We're doing prayer partners, so that's where you're going to be partnered up with an individual student. You're going to be getting some prompts and some things to be praying about throughout the week. And so if you want more information on that, you can email me. My contact info is on that sheet. Next week at Dad Fest, which, by the way, Dad Fest next week.
Dad Fest!
Next week at Dad Fest, we've got a couple opportunities. We're going to be grilling. We've got hot dogs, and Maxon's Country Barbecue is going to be there. Barbecue, pulled pork. It's delightful. And so come, as you buy food, you help support us going to big stuff. Part of that goes to help us get to Florida. And so come and eat a lot of pork, or come and eat a lot of hot dogs. Either way, you're helping this crew, and it's going to be awesome. Let's see what else. There was a couple other things on that sheet. Wait a minute. Oh, envelopes. As you head out, there's going to be a set of envelopes on next to the info table. Grab one of those if you are so inclined. There's some instructions on what to do with those envelopes in them, and so that's just another quick fundraiser for us. And then finally, if you would like to actually sponsor a student, come find me afterwards, and then we'll get those details to you. But again, this is going to be an incredible experience for our students to build life-changing relationships with adult leaders that care about them and want to help them see Jesus. So it's going to be awesome.
Awesome. Let me pray for them. God, we just come before you and we thank you for this group of students. We thank you for the adults who will be headed to big stuff next month. We just pray, God, that you'd begin readying their hearts. We know it's going to be a fun week, but God, we also know that the worship, the teaching, the small group time has the potential to drastically change their lives and point them closer to you. And so, God, we pray that you would wreck their lives for you. Pray that you would point their hearts towards you. And God, we just pray that you'd help raise the rest of the money that needs to be raised. God, thank you for a church that loves teenagers. We just ask this in your name. Amen. 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 Hey, give it up for these guys. You guys can have a seat. Hey, as we finish up, I just want to share a few things with you. Last week, I was in the great state of Alabama.
That's rough. And
I know it was very rough. I was speaking at a summer camp. I think after 20 years, it was about my 500th camp or retreat. Matt Moore and I are probably like... you
guys have a competition.
We got a competition of how many camps we've get a little bar graph. Of course, I got a text last night, totally random. I don't have time to say this, but one of my best friends from downstate, his dad's brother has an uncle who has a pool boy that lives next door to Darius Rucker's brother.
Oh.
So
connections. I mean,
I was very excited to receive that text.
you're
So I'm hoping that I can meet
you
that
guys
pool
are
boy.
practically- I was going to say, you guys are practically best friends now.
We're practically best friends. I will be Darius Rucker's pool boy. Okay, we gotta go. We gotta leave.
We got a schedule.
This is us, I'll tell you. Crock pots, it's crazy. Okay, what was I talking about, John? I was in Alabama. And I was in Orange Beach, Alabama, Gulf Shores. I spent all day at the ocean. It was really painful. But I was speaking at a middle school camp, and kids from Tennessee came down to Alabama. Middle school students in Tennessee, they get out like 3 weeks ago. So it was just absolutely crazy. And it was awesome. I'm eating dinner one night, and I had been at this camp before, and so I know some of the leaders, and I'm talking to Tommy, who's a 61-year-old banker from Memphis, Tennessee, and he's been coming to summer camp 23 straight years. He takes a week off work and he hangs out with students, and sitting next to him one day was Stevie, who's a 28-year-old chemical engineer who had Tommy as a small group leader and who is involved as being a middle school leader because of his middle school leader. And Stevie didn't have a dad who was really around. So here's what we need to do, Thrive Church. Some of us, like, it's time for us to like get out of the spectator seat and begin pouring into teenagers. Like, I know sometimes we're kind of like nice and friendly here, but like if you want to see like mean Jason, let's do it. Like, let's throw down. Because I need some of you, John needs some of you to listen to the Holy Spirit who's been whispering in your ear for a while to get up out of the spectator seat and get involved in the teenagers and kids' lives. Like, it's just time. We need you. And so thank you for being a church who brought pop cans today. All that money goes to help kids. Thank you for bringing loose change. I know as a dad who has sent 3 kids to Big Stuff the last couple of years, it's a lot of money. And some of you have sponsored kids. That means the world. So thank you. Next Sunday, Dad Fest. I can't tell you how important this is. It's just an important and an awesome Sunday. We're going to take over Island Park. You're going to hear Matt and I on the radio this week. CFX, listen to that. I think it's kind of fun. Homer Simpson even makes a little debut. It's pretty good. Listen, we went in there, and the CFX people just love us. They're like, you just don't seem like church people.
Well,
yeah.
that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. That's really fair. So it's going to be great. We're going to have a great time. We're going to encourage each other. And the world-famous bacon tent is going to be there. The world-famous bacon tent. So, Thrive Church, we love you. Have a great Sunday. Thanks for inviting people till next Sunday, and we'll see you at Dad Fest next Sunday.